to go over and request information about how do I engage volunteers into my coalition and what does it look like for family engagement? Um, what are other coalitions doing? What are some ideas? And then building on family engagement, what's the difference between family engagement and leadership? And what does leadership look like with families? And so, just to kind of like give a little bit of an opening, it's hard to engage volunteers and families. And so here we are challenged with both. And we do know that the best way to drive our coalition work is by the input of our coalition members, our families, and our community and our professionals, not necessarily by Lindsay or Tamara or Susie or Kayla or Martina. It's really driven collaboratively by our community. Our community drives our strategic plan. Our community drives the work and carries out the work. And then on the inverse, we will learn that the coordinators can't do it all and we need help and we need many hands to do this big work. It is big community work and change and transformation, and we can't do it alone. We have to do it within partnerships, and also we have to have support. Many of us don't have the funding, of course, to have a full-time staff and team of support. So we have to rely on in-kind and volunteers to help us. And we want to engage them in different ways. And volunteers and community have different capacity, different strengths, and it ebbs and flows. I might be a really strong volunteer for a couple of months, and then something happens in my life that I have to pull back on. So there are all of these kind of nuances when it comes to volunteer work, membership engagement, community and professional engagement, and of course, family engagement and leadership. And more than ever, our lives are busier than ever. Guys, I don't think it's supposed to be like this. I don't think we're supposed to be this busy, but nonetheless, we all are. And so we have to think about creative ways to inspire folks to want to be a part of our coalitions and volunteer and engage in whatever capacity they can. And then also we have to be open to receiving whatever capacity they can give, right? And so that's not always easy. And the other nuances is that it's not always easy to delegate and let go of control because we also want things to be done well, high quality. We're responsible for contracts and deliverables and things like that with all of our contracts and grants and funding and things that are coming into our coalitions. So it's hashtag complicated. It is not that easy to just say, oh, increase your volunteers, or how about give that job to this person, or you just have to increase your family engagement and leadership. And we have to think about it strategically. And what does it mean? And what does it look like uniquely in our community and our unique coalition? And also, what does it look like to take the time to set up those processes and those systems to make it work for our coalition? And then continuously check in on that because we might try something and it doesn't work, and that's okay. And what does it look like to then adjust it and adjust it with the community and coalition and families informing the process? It sounds way easier said than done. So I brought in the expert. We reached out. I love that face. We reached out to Kayla. All of you are experts on your communities, and all of you are experts on community organizing. You are coalition coordinators, and you are community organizers. And step into that power and own that profession. But I know that some of us are desperate to learn more about volunteerism and family engagement and family leadership. So one coalition that's doing a really great job of it, and all of our coalitions are doing a really good job of it, but you have a really unique system in place, Kayla. So I thought we would tap into Kayla sharing a little bit about her family engagement and leadership program. And then you can think about how could this maybe work for my community? Could I, think of different offshoots of the work, or that inspired me or gave me an idea to partner with this program to build something like that, or so on. So this is just to plant seeds and share some ideas, and share some learning from another really awesome coalition. And you all are awesome, and we all have so much to learn from each other. But I'm going to turn the mic over to Kayla to share a little bit about her family engagement and family leadership that she has built this system for in her coalition. Thank you so much for Kayla for being here today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for inviting me. I'm excited. I wanted to share my screen. I created a little presentation if I can. I was gonna try and see if it'll let me. Let's see. Perfect. Yeah, so definitely not an expert in this. It's been a big challenge for us, actually. It's just been a really trial and error is what we've been going through most recently, but what we've been trying has worked. And so I just wanted to share some of that with you guys, kind of where we've been and where we're headed next. Let me try and figure out how to present this first. Let's see. Does it say? There we go. Okay. Let me know if y'all can see it.
Looks great.
Okay. Awesome. So yeah, back in, I guess, 2022, when we all received the grant from ECCD, they wanted us to focus on, first of all, the community needs-based assessment, and that also kind of focused on family leadership team being involved in that process. So we started with the family leadership team, utilized them to actually go out and get information for our community-wide assessment that we did. And the way we developed it was really just kind of from scratch. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know how. UNM provided the awesome toolkit, so we did use that. A lot of the information that is in that big binder, there's a plethora of things in there, but we were able to utilize some of those different activities to get them together and really create that space for them to feel welcome and engaged, and to be able to provide that feedback. And so from there, we kind of stemmed into everything else. But what we created them to be is really an advisory board for us to go to and say, like, what are you seeing in the community? How is that affecting you? What can we do better? How can we support families? All that kind of stuff. And it really empowered them to use their voice in the community. When we did the outreach to recruit, a lot of the network partners that we have actually gave us names of people that they thought were going to be a really good fit for this, because they were outspoken, they were doing things with their parent councils within their organizations and things like that. So we did have a little bit of a background in the ones that we chose, so that was nice and helpful. But they definitely do serve as that, and so it's been filling the gap now between families and the community and how it all works. And so a quick example is I put out some information about our parent education, and I called it Empowering Families, Nurturing Children. I thought it was the greatest name ever, and everyone was going to know how cute it was and cool. And one of the parents came back and was like, nobody even knows what that is. I'm like, oh, okay. I really need to work on that then. And so I'm like, how about we call it Nurturing Children? Because parents know what that means. And so they were like, okay. So we all kind of made a decision to change it. But that type of feedback is what we were really looking for. The nitty gritty, trying to figure out what is working, what's not. And I was totally cool with hearing that feedback. We did, like I said, stem it from the community wide needs-based assessment. They did go out and help collect for that. We established them a little bit before, but it was one of the 4 projects that was identified through the community needs-based assessment, was just more feedback from parents, having their voice be in the forefront of what the community was needing. And so a lot of that filtered through when we did put that together and create our strategic plan. So we went ahead and used, like I said, the FDP toolkit to create that space for them, and it really just grew them from there. We didn't have to do much after that. They were ready to talk. So the purpose really, we started with the why we needed family leaders, what that was going to look like in our coalition, and then we did create pretty much a vision for them, but it is pretty much in line with what CPC does, because our mission and vision is to create spaces for quality programming and quality care for young children. And so it's kind of been that across the board. All of our networks kind of have that same vision. But they really wanted to make sure that we were taking from what families had mentioned in the community and really making that happen within our organization. And they hold me accountable to that to this day. So we did set it up to be a membership type of thing. And so we were able to have them fill out an application. Do you want to be a part of this? What do you want to do in this partnership? How's that going to look for families? We established some group rules, I guess you could say. And so anything that happens in there stays in there. They want to be able to have these discussions and it not go outside of that. And then two, to just be empathetic of everybody's situation. And so it turned into this huge, like really nice support group is what it felt like for a very long time. And so a lot of them would come in and talk about all the things that they were facing, and they'd give each other strategies. And then once time came, they were able to like go back to, you know, what they were doing in the community. Oh, well, this happened, and now I'm going to give them this resource. And so then it kind of shifted from being just a support group into this data that we've been collecting from them. And it's been really amazing to figure out kind of where we need to go from there. But we did set some roles and responsibilities. We did confidentiality agreements with them. They do sign agreements annually, just to say that what happens within the organization, they're not going to go out and talk about things like that. And then too, what they're bringing to us, we don't want to know names. We just want to know what's going on. And so we have like a leader that kind of takes care of the group. And then we had a co-leader because they're all busy. And so we needed somebody to support with that. And then a secretary that would take notes, and then somebody to do marketing. And so it worked really well for a long time. And they were all really engaged. And then life happened, and it kind of just shifted where we were at from there. And so part of the recruitment process has been, like I said, the referral from the organizations. We send them the invitation application, get it back, and then we onboard them, do the orientation, mission, incentives, and all that kind of stuff, what they're going to get when they do come. It started out, we just paid them to come to the meeting. And so they got $50 every time they came, and we did it monthly. And then that's shifted a little bit too. I'll talk a little bit about that. And then really just having them support in the outreach and events that we were doing. So we'd incentivize that. If they were able to come, we'd be able to pay them for their time, depending on the grants and funding that we had, of course, but it worked out really well. We did end up creating a feedback loop. And so that kind of stemmed from them coming to the meeting, and it was just a support group. And so then I'd start asking questions like, have you guys talked to anybody about anything in the community? Have parents had the concern of childcare? Do you see anybody needing assistance with this or that? And so then it really started to get them to understand that they have a bigger job than just coming to get the support. And it's really to support other parents. And so that shift kind of took place, and it really was exciting to see. So these girls have been on board, majority of them, since 2022. And so I've seen the growth of them professionally throughout all of the years and stuff. And it's been really nice. They've done a lot of participation with UNM, doing different presentations for things. And then of course with the Abre No Puertas, they've been utilized in that aspect because they're all certified to do the facilitation for that. And so they've been used to do different presentations there too. I think using the feedback loop has supported us in being able to have definitive like goals that we can set for our strategic plan. And so some of that is like the parent need for childcare in whatever age group. Well, now we know that we need to update our website to have more information about that and things like that. So it's been a really good shift, although I didn't expect it. The monthly stipends that were once just the $50 for coming are now, when they turn in their information before the meeting, they get their $50 stipend. And I don't care if they had one conversation or they talked to themselves about it or what they did, but as long as they had some engagement with the community and like mentioned some sort of resource, then they get their $50 stipend. And so that's kind of held them accountable for supporting, and they still get to come to the meeting and engage and interact, but it's just a little different from that aspect. And then just doing the recognition for their consistent engagement that they have. Like I said, it was like really engaged and everybody was coming and all the meetings were full all the time. And then all of a sudden people went to school and people had a job and people had like different things happening. They couldn't come because they had their children. So Zoom was always an option, but then everyone was on Zoom. So it's been like this shift. And so here recently we've just decided to kind of restructure. I think it's important to know that change happens and growth, and we expect that, but also we're gonna go with it. And so we're gonna continue with the ones that are able to, and then really try and figure out how we can recruit more and use those as veterans to train the others. And so that's kind of been our shift here recently. We have trained and mentored them along the way. And so different kinds of workshops, teaching them about advocacy, communication, decision making. When they first kind of started from that community-wide assessment that we did, they ended up creating a after-school program because every Wednesday was half day. So we got the whole group together. At first, they were like going to go attack the superintendent. And I'm like, hold on. Like, wait a minute, and let me help you guys with this. And so trying to teach them to like, you can do things in numbers a lot quicker than you could if you're all alone. And so let's go as a group, let's strategize, let's figure out how to talk to him. Let's not tell him that he needs to do anything. It's our job to support it and where he fits in and what really supports him. And so that was a whole shift for them mentally to kind of think about that, because they wanted to go in there and tell him like, you need to change the calendar because it's not working for us and all these things. But it was cool to see them actually advocate for themselves after doing minimal training. It was maybe just a conversation we had, but it settled. And that's continued. Now I see them all the time and they'll talk about things in the meeting that they want to go out and do, but then they strategize together. Like, how can we do it together rather than just, go attack or whatever they're trying to accomplish. But yeah, it's been really cool to see all of that. And so using, like I said, the experienced members to train these new ones that are coming on board. And even over the years, we've had some time out and others kind of bring them up to par and coach and train them. And so that's been exciting to see. And really just using like the lead to kind of guide and train the others. And so we have one member that's like really strong personality and she gets things done. And then the others that are kind of like, oh, okay, if you do it, I'll do it. And so it's interesting to see. And then really trying to just make sure that they're all part of the decision making and what's happening. And so letting them be able to vote on certain things if we have something to talk about. Usually it's just like, yes, I agree. It's not like a formal voting type of thing, but they all have very vocal opinions, and so they'll tell me if they don't want to do something, or if they really do, they'll make that known. And then just trying to make sure that I'm consistently referring to their feedback and what that looks like and how I'm using that, because I feel like if I'm not, then they're gonna know that they're putting all this data in and it's not going anywhere. But recently, like, they've been so interested in doing events, but I'm with you, Lindsay, like, capacity is an issue. We can't always be there. I probably have a problem with not letting them take as much initiative as they probably could, because I do want it to be good and I want it to be a certain way. And so I struggle with that too. But I feel like we've come to a place where I'm like, okay, now we can try and figure out events, but let's make sure that they're not too involved that you can't accomplish it. And let's make sure we're not doing too many because then you'll be overwhelmed. And so I always have all these different suggestions for them. But they've been really good at trying to really just like recognize that that is something. So I've let them do events before that they did on their own and everything. And then they come back and they're like, yeah, that was too much. Like, I get it. Like, okay, good. It's not just me. And so now they're able to be like, okay, we switch strategies. Now let's just do a walk. Let's go to the track. Let's do a walk. Let's do, things like that. So it's been interesting. They've, like I said, been able to connect with different organizations throughout the state, not just here locally. So they were invited to the FLT. It was like the big summit that they had in Las Cruces. They got to do a presentation there. So when they come into the meetings, one of our members, Francine, and she won't mind me saying this, so I'll say her name, but she's like, I am a professional, and my kids see me as a professional now. So when I put on my outfit and go to the meeting, they know I'm going to do professional stuff. And that's just like so cute to see her be able to distinguish that. And she's like, oh no, like now mom time's over. Now I'm going to go do this. Martina can vouch for how funny she is. But yeah, it's been nice to see that. Definitely the leadership skills are showing through. They're able to support one another and really as a community, we can see them like on Facebook and stuff now, like reaching out, call Community Partners for Children if you need whatever, or call this organization, they help with that. And so it's been nice to see. But it definitely helps us to remain in the know of what's happening in the community and just fresh on our game and what we're doing in our strategic planning. So as far as being able to track participation and that kind of thing, their monthly data that they do turn in it's been beneficial. I think right now we're in a transition period, so I think we have 4 that are really engaged and still participating, where we used to have 10. And so, like I said, it's shifted, it's changing. And so now we're kind of in the recruit mode. And so I've changed a little bit on how we've brought people in. So Martina, who is the early childhood coach, she's here with me, but she's not on the camera. She has been working on outreach. So part of her position is doing outreach and stuff. And so when I hired her on, kind of my vision was to put her within the FLT team so that she could also be part of that leadership, because she's a mom of a young child and she has a lot of knowledge. So when I'm doing things, I'm always asking her, like, what would your daughter want? What would she like to see? Because that feedback is so important. So bringing her on, and then I brought another gal on that's doing our curiosity corners, which I'll talk a little bit about, but she's also joined the family leadership team. So now we have 2 that are also within the organization, but they're parents, and it's just been a really good shift. And I think them understanding kind of where we're at as an organization has been helpful too. And so I think the veterans of the FLT are like, oh, like they can do events and they want to do all these things. But now that there's capacity, it's a little bit easier. And so that's been a really cool shift for us. I think really just the way that they've shaped like what we're doing and how we're doing it. Our big goal is to really create like a resource center for families, a one-stop shop. And that's always been something that they're really passionate about too. And so now we've actually got some funding to do a mobile resource cafe. And so we're going to try and implement that here in the next couple months, utilizing them continually as advocates and support. Because we don't have as many now, it's kind of trying to figure out where they can fit in and how. But I do think that they'll be a huge asset to that vision that they had so long ago, and now it's kind of flourishing. So it's exciting to see. Yeah, so we decided to go ahead and try something different because we didn't have a lot of participation. Everybody was kind of timing out. And so I brought on Martina and Rochelle, and then we decided that we were going to do a survey for families. And so I had Martina just post something about come to the park, fill out a survey, have a burrito, and get $50 for taking a survey. And so we tried it just to kind of see what kind of feedback we would get. And that we got two really strong moms that came, and they both aren't necessarily from our area, but they've been here for a while, so they understand kind of the dynamic. But the one actually teaches bar, which is like a mix between yoga and Pilates. And so they came, they did the survey, they were really excited to like hear about our coalition and know that there was somebody that was doing something. I think so often it's like, I don't know about all the resources that are in the community. I don't know what's going on. And so for them to see it, I think was encouraging for them that there's hope in the community here. We don't have a ton of stuff for families, and so it was kind of like, oh, I didn't know. Yeah, so then we ended up using the gal that came. We're trying to still kind of get them on board with the FLT. It's been just kind of one thing after another, but the gal that does the bar, we invited her to come back and actually do a class for parents. And so then we started this summer connection series that we're doing. So we did these like 5 pop-up events that were simple but engaging, and trying to get families just to come out of the community and meet up. I think that's been a huge issue. Probably for every community that I've talked to, is like parents don't want to engage. It's hard for them to commit, that kind of thing. So the pop-ups were really to try and get people to come for 1 hour, if you wanted to come for an hour or 10 minutes, whatever you want to do, but having food, coffee, like things that just, sounded appealing. And so we started with the bar. I actually, what was the first, is that the first one we did? The bar and bond?
Yes.
So we started with the bar and bond. Oh, it was just the 5 of us. And so the only ones that showed up were her. And then we had our staff, and then one mom that Martina recruited at the lunch, at free lunch. She's like, nobody signed up. And I'm like, go to the park, go to the free lunch and just ask parents if they want to come. I'm like, I don't know at this point what to do. And so one parent came, and then she ended up knowing our other family leadership team members. So that worked out. But that one was fun. And then we ended up doing, again, we tried it. And this time we had, was it 10 or 12 people that signed up? And so I think a lot of it was word of mouth. So then I'm telling Martina and Rochelle, like, ask all your friends, tell all your friends to come, because I don't have young kids anymore. So I don't know any young mom parents. I'm like, you guys have to know somebody. And so they've been kind of doing that outreach, like just between people that they know and that kind of thing. And so the word's gotten out there. We did have 12 show up to that. And so Corinne, who's the instructor, has been really helpful in giving us a discount. And so these families, we pay for it. And then what we've been doing is having somebody come on site to watch children while the parents engage. And so their kids are still in the same area, but their parents can actually engage with other moms and do what they need to. And the children have activities to do and somebody to watch them. So that's been, I think, the biggest thing. We did basically a paint and sip, color and connect is what we called it. But we invited moms to come, or dads, whoever, grandparents, uncles, whatever, to come over and do a paint and sip with us. They could bring their own beer if they wanted, whatever. It was just more of a mom or parent night. And then we did it with the local business that was able to provide food. And so we covered the cost of the food. We were going to do childcare, but that fell through last minute. So some of them that were registered couldn't come, but a lot of them were able to. And so it was just overall a really good experience. We did the walk at the track, and so we just set up a date in the morning. Everybody meet there. We'll bring coffee and burritos, and that was pretty successful too. How many was there?
I think that was like about 12.
12 again, yeah. And so I think the more that we did, the more people were like, oh, okay, like this is a thing. We can definitely come, and there's childcare and there's, food and all the things. So then one of our FLT members makes cookies. So I had her make cookies that they could all decorate at the park. That one went pretty well too.
That one was about 25 people registered.
Yeah. So it got to be pretty busy, but it was exciting just to see people come out of their shell and just participate, because that hasn't been a thing. And then of course, with our parent education, Martina and I have been doing the Abriendo Puertas, and then we actually partnered with a coalition in Doña Ana to do a family Huey with them. And so that has been pretty exciting to see the virtual hybrid model taking place. I think at first we were all kind of confused on how it was going to work, but it did end up working really well. So it was exciting. But our family leadership team is also trained to do the Abriano Puertas. And as we get more family leadership members engaged, I can continue to train them to be that peer support for other parents. And so that's kind of where we're at. Our family leadership team talked about building these spaces within local businesses a long time ago that would engage children while parents were shopping or something. Because every time you go into a store, you're like, don't touch that, don't look over there, don't do nothing. And so we really wanted to build a space for kids and parents to feel comfortable and then also learn about the community. So they're really experiential learning stations for kids to go and interact. And so if they're at the bike shop, they know that they're here in the community at the bike store. And then the parents can shop while they play. And same thing at the flower shop. They're able to build bouquets and sort flowers and do different things like that. All of them are a little bit different depending on the business, of course, and then what they want to be able to require. But we try and make it to where they don't have to do a ton of things. We don't have to do a lot. It's just a station that's already set up, and then parents and everybody can engage on it. So that's been successful. Tara's been leading that. She's the one on the left. She's our family leadership team member. That's really been the lead throughout the years. But now we've brought in Rochelle, and she's kind of leading it too. I have one of my board members that supports that as well. So when you talk about volunteers and support, it's like, yes, you need them. And so I reach out to them all the time and I'm like, do you think you can help with this project? Because we have a lot going on. But I think it's been really nice to like bring everybody together, the family leadership team, the board, staff, everybody's kind of working together for the same initiative. And it's made it work a lot better than just me, because I can't do it all. But yeah, that was kind of my presentation. And I think Lindsay, you and I had talking about kind of other communities and what they're facing and how some of this stuff can fit, some of it can't, but I would be more than willing to have those conversations if anybody was interested and try and kind of brainstorm on that too. So yeah.
Thank you so, so much, Kayla. This was fantastic. I can't wait to share it out to our whole coalition coordinator network, just to give us some thinking starting points and ideas. And oh my gosh, first of all, let's just talk about how you've structured the program to include events and activities for families, but also learning and creating opportunities for leadership. Like, one of your families kind of taking the lead, one of your family members taking the lead on this. One of your family members loves even viewing the presentations and outreach as her job. And then also, like, how do we share that mentorship and support group kind of vibe within our events and activities and things from other parents and other parents sharing resources too. And that's leadership. So that's the difference between events, which are amazing and so good for communities and so supportive, to actually supporting leadership and growth, and also opportunities for them to build skills to include on their resume if they apply for a job later or go back to school or things. They are really building skills as they're engaging in these events. Oh my gosh, in the curiosity corners, I was like, please, let's do that, because I have, a 17-month-old that turned 17 months yesterday, and it's almost impossible to go to restaurants and stores and things because he's such a busy guy. So what a wonderful idea to partner with local businesses, and for them to be stakeholders in the community and also your coalition and supporting families. Just win, win, win all the way around. Another piece I wanted to point out too is that you started talking about capturing data. Like, these are super fun events and opportunities for families to learn and grow and be taught something and be teachers and whatnot. But all the while, you're also capturing data, right? You're capturing experiences from your community, stories, lack of resources, or abundance of resources here or there, and also not just numbers of people engaging and coming, right? That's important too, but also their experiences and how they're navigating systems within our community and what we can work and partner with in our community to make impact and transformation. I'm just like blown away. There's a scaffolding in this, and there's also ways to build on participation and engagement to leadership and also supporting with your coalition work. Oh my gosh. So good. Thank you so much for sharing and creating the presentation. So important. And I really appreciate the time that you took to present this. So I wanted to open it up to you all. I saw Susie was asking a couple of questions in the chat. There are so many unique and wonderful family engagement things that are happening across the state. So it's really nice to hear. But man, Kayla, I really loved how you built on Abriendo Puertas and the family Huey and presentations and capturing data, and that community engagement piece of how you award stipends. That was really, really brilliant too. So Kayla said, can you put your contact information in the chat? Thank you, Kayla, for adding that. And so, what are anyone's thoughts? What are some things that you've done in your community too? Kayla was vulnerable and shared some things worked, some things didn't. Sometimes it wasn't always easy to let go of control and let people do. But I really appreciate that vulnerability too, because it's way easier said than done to implement all of these things and to kind of make it happen, and all of those pieces that come with that. So anyway, any thoughts or questions or things you'd like to share about your community?
I just want to thank you, Kayla, for sharing that. I'm a very visual learner, so I appreciate the slideshow. I'm also a reflective thinker, so I'm just soaking in all of the information. I know I will have questions, which is why I asked for your contact info because I don't have them immediately. So just thank you for sharing that. I'm glad I came today. This is exactly what I've been reevaluating and thinking on. How can we do things better? What do we need to add? What are we doing that we're not sharing correctly and the family engagement aspect isn't being seen from it, even though it is. So my brain is just I'm just trying to soak in all of the things that you shared. So I will get in contact with you with my questions, but I don't have them right now. But I do appreciate you.
Wonderful. Susie, I'm like that too. Or I might have a question and then I think about another one 2 days later, so, and that's exactly what this is all about, planting seeds, not to say this kind of structure or these events will work in your community or they won't, but just some ideas to get us thinking and growing creative thoughts and partnerships and expanding on what we already do for families in communities. And something to share too, this is like on the technical coaching side. So not really group reflective side, but just a piece to like remind us about is that our local early childhood systems building project and funding falls under Floreset's strategic plan, ECCD's Floreset strategic plan. Goal number 2, drum roll please, family and community engagement. And so that's how important it is. It's actually the most important, right? And so that's where our work in the ECCD structure falls under. And right here under objective 2.2, I think is really important too, is that, and it speaks to the data capture that Kayla was talking about too, is that we are, each New Mexico community is served with an early childhood coalition. That's the dream. I hope so someday. is served with an early childhood coalition that ensures stronger state to local coordination and decision making. So that's how important this data is too, is that we are informing from the ground level, from the community-based level, what happens at the state, and also serving as a conduit and information and resource provider right at the ground level from resources and information from the state. So it's this information highway and partnership, and it's really that important that we think about these things. And so here's our opportunity. If your coalition and your community have people coming to your meetings, awesome. If you have, families coming to your meetings, awesome. If you have families, even participating in your leadership team at your coalition, amazing. If you have events for your families or you join in community events for your families and community, outstanding. But here are some ideas to get us thinking on how we can dive a little deeper in truly wrapping in families to drive the work of our coalition and also give us feedback and data and opportunities to reflect and grow. I loved that slide that you mentioned, like monitoring and reflecting and really taking the experience and the family feedback into account on how these things are working or not. What could we do better? And just our opportunity to allow families to step up, become leaders, and drive community work. So applauds to all of you across the state, and of course to Grant County CPC for such an amazing leadership structure.
I can just, it's not easy at all, and I constantly second guess myself, but I think overthinking is huge when you try and involve families, because you always think they need all these things and they need all this, interaction and engagement, but it's really not. It's like the minimum, like a burrito and they're there, a cup of coffee, they're there, like the
Thank
little things, because
Yeah.
I was overthinking it for so long. I'm like, if we do an event, it has to be perfect. Like there's
Oh my gosh.
and now I'm like, you know what? Take them for a walk. Let's go to the track. Let's go to,
Yeah.
things that are just an engagement that you don't even think. But I think for so long, I was always trying to figure out on a higher level how to engage families. And then like when Martina came on, I'm like, Martina, what do you think? What do we need to do? Because I'm at loss for marketing. And I don't have capacity to do it at all. So I'll put out a little thing here and there because I'm just like, that's one more thing I have to do. But putting
We're busy coordinators.
outreach,
Yeah.
to do outreach and actually coming from a parent perspective, I'm like, do it from a parent. Don't do it from CPC.
Yeah.
What do you want as a parent, not necessarily what we see the need is. And so I think once I shifted that mindset for myself, then it's been easier to engage and let things happen. And
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah.
to that, I wanted to give her just a second to talk about the events, because at first she was kind of discouraged because there wasn't a lot of participation. And then after that, it went crazy. And then she's like, okay, no more. But I'll let her talk about it for just.
Yeah, it's been fun. And I can say, like, I have seen the growth within Kayla, like letting go. And when she didn't the first one, I'm
That's
like,
a theme today, is being able to find ways to let go, right?
And I'm like sitting there
stop
like, I hope it's
overthinking.
going
Oh my
good.
gosh. Yes. Oh my gosh. The overthinking piece, you really spoke to me.
I'm the worst at it. I'm like, okay, she can handle it. I trust her.
Yeah, and how overthinking can sometimes be a barrier of actually just doing.
yeah.
Gosh, so
Yeah.
good.
We just went in and we did it, and it's just shown the growth. I feel like as a parent, they just want the connection, and that's what I've seen through these pop-ups and we're more social, like on social networking, and so like the community is seeing that, and I feel like with those videos, it's helped them want to be like, I want to be a part of that connection, and so that's helped, and it's been fun. It's really rewarding to just be able to bring them all together. And it's been exciting to see, like she said, there was little engagement in the beginning, but I want to remind those founders, why they were a part of it to begin with, and just bring that back to them.
And it did. It like I can see the spark coming back of that. And then like even for the Curiosity Corners, and Tara was kind of running it, and she's a mom and she's busy. And so for her it was kind of hard because she couldn't do as much, and so like we had two going, and it was kind of nice. And then when I hired somebody to actually like take on that burden for her, now she's engaged and she wants to participate and she comes to all the events. And so it kind of like relieved her of that pressure, but she's still super engaged, and she's kind of coaching and training the new gal that I brought on. And so that's been like kind of cool. And then they can work together on it. Our board members involved, and yeah, it's just worked out for me
So
to just
good.
stop being so controlling.
Oh yeah, but that's all of us. We all have to release a little bit of control, right? Especially when it comes to our work, and we have to be able to trust and things like that take time to build relationships with people and know that we can do that. But you also spoke to the time and setup that it takes to set up these systems and processes, but also the onboarding piece. That's really important. And sometimes it's hard to find that time and capacity to carve out, to set up these systems to make things successful, right? And then to reflect upon those things and are they working or not. But you also pointed at one thing that I think we forget sometimes in coalition work, in the professional world, whatever, we view people as professionals or families. And we forget about Martina and Lindsay and Tamara and all these people that have little ones. Susie, I think your kiddos are a little bit older, if I remember.
Yeah, my girls are about to be 8 and 9.
Oh, right on the cusp of early childhood too. But but we forget it, and you all, Kayla and Susie, were parents at one point of little ones. And so we forget about those professionals that are families and the power of capitalizing on that voice and tapping into that voice. And that when we do community work, all of us, even a part of the organization, are members of the community too. And all of us are families of the community. And so sometimes we get a little, siloed in thinking like, okay, this is for the community, not for us. And we are professionals, we are not family, or we think about those things, but there is so much intersectionality and crossover and wealth from gathering information from those families that are professionals and do understand this early childhood world and the work that we're doing. And I think that really speaks to such a big asset that we often miss. So don't forget, if you have professionals a part of your coalition, they also may be early childhood families, but likely are also just families, right? Not just, but are families and have had young children at one point, or are grandparents raising little ones, or are aunties and theos raising little ones. And so we really have a wealth of resources and assets. And another piece to think about too is we have this idea of volunteerism, and you can build a network of volunteers, and then this idea of family engagement, right? And building this network of family engagement and leadership, and then thinking about how they can cross together, right? Families can volunteer, professionals can volunteer, and so on. But what does that look like in your structures too? And Kayla, or Susie, that would be maybe one quick question I would ask. Do you ever tap into community volunteer opportunities outside of your family engagement and leadership programs, or, outside of the normal work that you do?
Yeah, so we do, usually we have a few volunteers, not very many, but I think we've been recruiting volunteers as we've been doing the work, and
Yeah,
as we meet people
getting in
on
the community.
like I just met somebody yesterday, and she was like, I don't have capacity to work or do anything, but I want to be a part of what you're doing because I love it. And so
I love that.
okay, cool. I'm
Yeah,
doing a minute, or just say
I
hi.
love that. Well,
That's
I love that too.
share our stuff. I don't know, but any kind of volunteer is acceptable at our
Yeah.
I feel like even just sharing our information or telling somebody that we exist, like that's a volunteer job. Thank you for doing that. Or you think
Absolutely.
of volunteer work as like come sit
Yeah.
at a desk and do work, but it's really not that.
Many of us also have um, community colleges, university, local, branches of colleges in our communities, even if we are rural or small. There could be an opportunity to tap into people that are taking classes that need an internship
Up to
placement.
us actually. And she
Oh,
called,
wonderful.
we were the only organization I found that had, what was she looking for? Community engagement or something like that was her internship that she needed to do. And so she came and supported some of our events and then she wrote her whatever that she had to do based on what she did with us. And so that was interesting because I've never had that happen. We have like
That's so
tapped
cool.
into like marketing and business at the university. They've done internships here, but never
Yeah.
on the community aspect. So that made me think too of the different departments that I can reach out to at the university to say, this is what I do. This is who, because I have an agreement with the business department where they can send interns, but not with community development, which I need to.
That is so good. So think about the wealth of professionals that we can reach out to wrap into and educate about the early childhood world and ecosystem and professions, but also if they are going to college, that
Mhm.
we can include for volunteers or have outreach about our coalition to, etc. So we have our early childhood education. That's like, a given. We understand that in the early childhood ecosystem. But we have therapists, OT, PT, speech, and folks that are going to school for that. Or folks that are already those professionals that may transition into the FIT or early intervention world at some point. We have social workers, yeah,
Mhm.
nurses. We have community health workers. We have public health folks. We have a coalition, PB&J, actually, that has a public health intern right now. And how cool is that? So there are all of these support kind of professions too, counseling, psychology. That we can think about tapping into. Of course, business, because we have to know how to run our organizations and budgets and all those fun things and marketing, but also digital media, right? How cool is it to have a really fun family event and have some really nice pictures taken by a student intern for our website, or social media, and that we can use marketing materials. So leveraging and tapping into those resources. Bernalillo County Home Visiting Work Group was awarded I believe, also a public health intern that redid their entire community needs assessment recently, did all the legwork of gathering data. I mean, such a big load and lift to take off of, the leadership team and the coalition coordinators. And also leveraging those partnerships. So just some things to think about. So good. So good to reflect on. Thank you so much for your time, everyone, for coming here today. We're about 2 minutes away, and I want to honor your